Good evening. I'd like to Township of Lopatcong Council meeting for December 28th, 2020 to order. I'd ask that everyone bow their head for a moment of silence, please.
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided indicating the time and place of the meeting in accordance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975 by advertising a notice in the Star Gazette, the Express Times, and by posting a copy on the bulletin board in the municipal building. Roll call, please.
Yes, Councilman Delcaro.
Here.
Councilman Polito.
Here.
Councilman Wright.
Here.
Council President Pryor.
Here.
And Demucci.
Folks, questions, comments on agenda items only. I would ask those of you who are looking in on the Zoom to please raise your hand so that we would be able to acknowledge you. You would have to state your name and
John Betzman, John Betzman is department-wide, so a few members school training. I like the under old business, which is ordinance 20. Not sure what we're doing. Getting into parking traffic.
that in a nutshell, John, is to allow us.
Excuse
to,
me, I'm sorry. I can't hear. Can you please speak up? This is the court reporter. And I'm not sure who's speaking.
Is that better?
If the person who is speaking can identify themselves, and if you could please speak up because I cannot hear you.
It's Mayor Mengucci speaking at the moment. Can you hear me now?
Not very clearly. It sounds a little muffled. Is there a way to get closer to the microphone?
Not unless I swallow it. So I'm as close as I can get. So
Okay.
in regards to your question.
Hold on, it is being recorded as well on our court reporter here too. So we can always get you that.
John, to allow our police department to enforce the laws on Rand Boulevard.
Just basically on Rand Boulevard.
Yeah. Yep.
Nothing else is changing.
No.
Not at the time. Okay. Then under new business resolution number 20-157 of the Lake Point Township undertake preliminary investigation to determine proposed study area, which includes blocks.
Yeah, that John is going to be pulled.
That's going to be pulled.
That's going to be pulled. That's discussion. We are looking at the possibility of renovating the office area and where the clerk is. We do have someone who's retiring that we are not replacing. My goal is to have as many people out front there to answer the questions of the residents as they come in. Right now, the only so
Those are comments to something later in public comment.
that really is it. We're going to study to see how much it will cost to renovate that area.
Okay, I was,
Right?
and then what is the one number 5 on the consent agenda resolution number? This is something else.
Very different.
Okay, and then the last one is request performance guarantee reduction for Autumn Ridge pursuant to conditions as outlined by engineer Sterling. December 24th, 2020. What's that?
What number are you looking at there, John?
Under consent agenda right above the council reports and what else.
I'm sure that has to do with, obviously, start, finish.
Yes, but specifically, is it monetary? Is it situational, like building requirement?
Anyone else, questions, comments on agenda items only? Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Arvin Itel. I'm attorney at law, licensed practice in the state of New Jersey. I hope you can hear me. I have a court report today. I'm here representing the contract purchaser block. Is in the ROM zone. I have a number of issues. First, Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong. I had the opportunity to speak with you on the phone. I dropped off an application for development a couple of days ago.
Yes.
And Mayor, if I'm not mistaken, you indicated to me that you were you tested positive for COVID.
That's correct.
I'm a little surprised to be here today. Yeah. And again, I'm not accepting the first.
I'm glad to come back for your status. No, I got it.
I represent Department 9, Block 6. And I believe that there are a couple of issues that I need to bring up here, and I'm asking that the matter that's scheduled here for under old business, adoption of an ordinance, that's ordinance 2012, to adopt that ordinance, that it would be tabled. The council back, to have several and I've expressed to her a couple of the concerns that I had. I've not gone through in great detail with the numerous issues that I have. What I'd like to do is, if I may, just take a step backwards, and as I've indicated, I'm asking that that matter be tabled, and the reason for that is that this board lacks jurisdiction. The jurisdictional objections that I'm going to raise, and I'm going to ask for your patience because I'd like to outline the issues that essentially divest this body, this governing body, from acting on ordinance 2012 tonight. The issues that I'll highlight tonight go to the statutory notices that are required for this governing body to act. And the notice, as the board member ordinance. Members are aware that there's a procedure that must be scrupulously followed when you're enacting an ordinance. For instance, changing a zoning ordinance or land use ordinance is a bit different than the generic ordinance and the governing body are perhaps used to act. For zoning, I'm sorry, is that for zoning or land use ordinances, the governing body cannot act until the proposed ordinances is referred by this governing body to the planning board for what's called sometimes a consistency review, and for all the comments of that planning board. And then more act by it can also, the planning board fails to do anything for 35 days and 35 days have elapsed. In this case, I understand that the planning board was referred as a result of a first reading that occurred on this ordinance on November the 4th. As with all ordinances, there must be an introduction or a first reading, as I'd said. And that First reading is to put the public on fair notice of what the governing body is intending to do in terms of the ordinance, the laws that govern the municipality. That's also because the public has a right to transparency, and I'm sure the governing body is all introduced as Exhibit A. Governing body should already have. These are the minutes from the September 4th, 2020 council meeting. That's the meeting that, I'm sorry, do you have a clerk perhaps that can take this as Exhibit A? I'm sorry. Exhibit A. Minutes, indicates that there was a discussion by the council members about a change to an ordinance. It was agendized on that agenda as a discussion item. At some point, as the governing body went into their discussion, it was elevated to introduction and a first reading by title of that. Anyone that looks at the agenda that evening would see the discussion, not an indication that something was going to be introduced on first reading for eventually being adopted by the governing body or not adopted by the governing body. In this case, there was a discussion by the council members, as I indicated. It at some point became a title read in as a first reading of a proposed ordinance change, and then it was referred to the planning board. Meeting minutes and also the agenda itself indicated the second reading and the adoption would be for 6:30 on December the 2nd, 6:30 p.m. It also indicated that interested persons that had any comments must appear in person. Not possible on December the 2nd. Any comments could appear via Zoom. Now, following the introduction and the first reading, and there are two parallel paths that have to be followed. One is, and I'll call it under Title 40, Section 49. Section 49 is how ordinances are introduced, and that's Section 49-2 and 49-2.1. Under 49-2, after a first reading of the introduction of the ordinance shall be published in its entirety or by title and summary, and four additional factors have to be present. One is, it has to say if there's a notice of an introduction, when that occurred, the time and the place. Number two, the time and the place for further consideration for final passage. Number three is a clear and concise statement setting forth the purpose of the ordinance. Place where a copy of the ordinance can be obtained by the public. 40 New Jersey statutes annotated Section 40:49-2. As I said earlier, the land use and zoning ordinance are a little bit different. They're also governed by 49.1. Under 2, you're not required to write out in books and the size of the page would be an October page. I don't know the exact size, but if it's more than 6 October pages, you don't have to publish it. But regardless, you still under NJSA 49-2.1 are required to have a summary of the main objectives. You have to have a statement stating the copies are available for public. As you said, the notice that was published after the November 4th elections. As I indicated, after it's introduced, you've got to say, we're going to have a final passage or second reading of this on some other date, and what time that's going to be. The notice that I've just introduced as Exhibit B indicated that it would be on December the 2nd at 6:30. That clearly did not happen. Not only that, As I indicated, when you have a zoning ordinance or a land use ordinance that's going to be changed, you're also required to have notice provided to property owners within 200 feet of all directions of the property that is the subject of the zoning ordinance change, or the zone that's affected here. In this case, that's the ROM zone. By certified mail and by regular mail, and if the number is that ordinance, we know that those carry to December the 28th. The notice that's sent out to the date, time, and place of the hearing. Number two, the nature of the matters to be considered. And number three, identification of the affected zoning districts by either street name, common name, or landmarks that are available, and by lot and block numbers. It also must be properly mailed to the owners by regular and certified mail, postage paid. Those addresses come from your township tax assessor. For section 49 notice provisions, for purposes of section 49, notice upon a first reading and introduction or defective, if it be heard to be code. And I'd like to refer back to chapter 2, sections 75, capital C, 1, small c. In the body of that same notice, it says that the purpose is to amend and revise chapter 243, which is correct, section 78.1, which is actually a section about environmental constraints, and section 83, which is a revised section of your ordinances. Clearly, that's not a correct notice. That wasn't the intent. It was put in error, but that's enough to cause confusion in the average mind of a person that looks at the notice in the newspaper and sees, well, what ordinances are they going to be amending here? So I'd ask this governing body to pause for, it's missing. Ordinance is available for the public to review free of charge. That's not my requirement. It's not the requirement of the contract purchaser, my client. It is the requirement of the law. The statutes require that. Even if you publish the entire ordinance, you're still required to say you can pick up a copy of it at the clerk's office or at the zoning and planning office at such and such a time and contact this individual. That's missing. And third, it's got to say a time and a place consideration or the passing of that ordinance. So the purpose for this is so people know to exercise their right to be heard about three fatal errors that I think should put the brakes on passing this ordinance tonight, because there's an opportunity for this governing body to correct those errors and to show good faith to the members of the public that have a right to know what's going on in my government. Now, what this notice says, instead of where they can appear to right to be heard, it says the people may appear at the municipal building at 6:30 on December the 2nd. Again, as I said before, there was no Zoom option that was presented. And as we all know, December the 2nd never happened. The reason I keep harping on the fact it has no right to act in any manner on that ordinance. That isn't limited to just passing the ordinance. That's also adjourning the ordinance to a different date without going through the entire notice procedure again. Now, following the notice on the introduction and first reading, on or before November 23rd, notices to property owners within 200 feet of every direction of the districts were to be sent out by regular and certified mail. And the reason I mention this again is because that is critical, that they be sent out to the property owners in this municipality, in this jurisdiction, that are going to be the most affected by any changes to a zoning ordinance, property that abuts them or that they own. That wasn't done. And the importance of that is you have to have extended notices. Now, the personal notices, since they weren't sent out before December 2nd, which would have been November 23rd, divested this governing body of jurisdiction to carry this to the 28th. You had to notice again. You had to notice not only the ordinance, the first reading of the ordinance, but also that the 28th was coming up. And you did, but unfortunately, that also was defective, and I'd like to bring up some of those points as well. At some point after December the 2nd, and I think it was either December the 17th or 18th, new notices were mailed out to property owners within 200 feet, and new notice was in fact published in the newspaper as is required, but those were also defective. I'd like to introduce Exhibit C. Exhibit C is a certified copy of the publication of the notice If you look at Exhibit C, it doesn't publish the entire ordinance as you did following the November 4th introduction. And that's, you're not required to publish the entire ordinance. You can certainly say, you know what, it's just too long an ordinance. We've decided not to publish it this time, but you've got to refer to it by title, and you've got to refer to it and also give an opportunity, a fair summary of what occurred here. Wasn't published in its entirety, but it doesn't give notice of the introduction either. But you failed to do. Website, like I highlight some. Not only does it not give the summary of what's going to be considered, but it doesn't give a time and a place where a copy of the ordinance contained no charge. The first time that this was published in the newspaper, we didn't have to tell people where they could find the ordinance or that they had to come to the clerk if they wanted to get a copy of the ordinance, because we published the darn thing. That has some romance. It's contrary to what the law says, but it has some romance that the person that's reading the ordinance certainly wouldn't need to come to the clerk's office to pick up a copy of the ordinance. If that's true, when you published it, office or a copy was also mailed out, notice, to property owners within 200 feet of all directions of the zone districts that were affected. And I'd like to have this marked as Exhibit D. I obtained a copy of this notice that was sent out. And it says, to be clear, effective the minute that someone puts it into a mailbox and it's sent off with the proper That's what's required for the notice to be effective on when it's mailed out. The number doesn't speak. Because it was an incredible job for her to put all of this together for me. The certified list that she obtained from the tax office, which was the predicate for the mailings to all the property owners within 200 feet of all directions. And that is, there are quite a number of properties that are affected here. But if you go through the list, and I'd like to have this marked as Exhibit E, I'll give that to you shortly. I'll highlight some of the errors. Now, earlier I said, remember, you have to be 100% correct on this. You have to put the notices in the mail, properly addressed, proper postage. So the properly addressed is the only thing that I can address here today, because I don't know whether the postage was actually effective. I'm assuming that all the postage was actually done, because each one of these is marked Finance Department, East Beatty Street in Belvedere, New Jersey. Problem is that the property list indicates that it's 800 East Beatty Street in Davidson, North Carolina. Different area code, a zip code altogether. That notice is defective. There's another notice that indicates that CBR Limited LLC at 775 Mountain Boulevard got notice. Problem is, there's no city, state, or zip code. I'd like to believe that that will be delivered, but chances are pretty good it won't be. But in either case, that notice is defective. Notice it was sent out to NMP Business Inc., care of Raj Sanda in Stewartsville, New Jersey. Zip code 08827. Wrong zip code. Those are just three that I found right off the bat. There are hundreds here. And as I said earlier, it's not if I have 12 that it's defective, but if I only have 3, it's not defective. If I have 1 defective notice, then notice is defective. You can't hear that application. You can't consider the ordinances tonight. So this was Exhibit E. Thank you. As I indicated earlier, I represent the contract purchaser of the property. The owner of Block 99, Lot 6 did not get notice either. And, you know, I'm always skeptical when someone says, I didn't get something in the mail, because there's nothing to prove that they did or that they didn't get it in the mail. You have to trust them. However, they were pretty copious in their efforts to make sure that notice did get to them, because they were aware that there was some discussion about changing ordinances. So the owner of the property took the effort on numerous occasions leading up to a December the 4th email confirming from your tax assessor that they finally corrected the address that they have on file for notice purposes. The information they had on file had the old owners of the property, had them as well, but had them as the old clients purchasing having been recorded in New York City. That's not correct. It indicated on several occasions prior to December 4th, the tax assessor, that the correct address is 9 Creamery Road in Hamilton, New Jersey, where they would like to get their notices, where all the tax records should reflect that being the correct address. Your tax assessor on December the 4th indicated, and I'll quote him, I've changed the mailing address to 9 Creamery Road, Hamilton, New Jersey. Bob Sweeney, tax assessor. We're going to have this marked as Exhibit F. If you look through Exhibit E, you will see that notice went out for Block 99, Lot 6 to New York City and to the prior owners of the property. Did not go to my client. I'm sorry, not to my client, but defect. I could just briefly bring that up as well. This is what I looked up tonight to figure out what are we doing here tonight? What's going to occur here tonight? So it was sometime past 6 o'clock that the agenda that I first saw it. It may have been posted at some point while I was driving here. The last I checked was sometime around 5 o'clock. Prior to checking again a little after 6 o'clock, the agenda was finally online. So as of 6 o'clock, I knew that this was going to, if I was a member of the public that had no clue what was going to occur tonight and wanted to go online and find out, hey, what's my governing body going to be doing tonight? What are they considering? I wouldn't have known until about 6 o'clock because that's when the agenda was posted. But if I went a little bit further and I wanted to actually see based on the exact same notice, exact same wording in the ordinance that you had back in November. It still shows that this is a matter that's going to be considered at 6:30 on December the 2nd. Not today, but that it's going to be considered back in December the 2nd. And it still refers to chapter 243, section 78.1 and section 83. Which, as I indicated earlier, you'd put in error into the notices, and are certainly not what are being considered this evening. This governing body has an opportunity to do the right thing, not because like tonight. And I've just been looking into this since last week. List of all of the people that were noticed, I looked at the ones that just jumped out at me. This governing body has an opportunity to do the right thing because it's the right thing. I'd ask that the governing body, because it is the right thing, and passing an ordinance that was not on its face, and the number of defects that we have here, each one might be a small defect, but in totality, it is enough to cause confusion in the mind of the public, and the right thing to do. There's no pressure. And to consider for adoption on that date, but not tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, anybody else? Public comment agenda item going? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Evan Zimmerman. I'm an attorney with law firm of Giordano, Halloran, and Ciesla. I'm here tonight on behalf of my client, NFI Real Estate LLC. They are the prospective developers of property located in the ROM zone at Block 99, lots 3.01 and lot 6. Before I get started, issue that a lot of my members of my team are experiencing with your Zoom call at the moment. So I think that those issues need to be addressed before council with the hearing tonight.
I'm aware of any of that at this point, so we're gonna.
Well, with that being on the record, there are issues that I think bear upon the council's jurisdiction to entertain the ordinance this evening that's listed as that were just raised regarding public notice. Notice is a statutory requirement. It has to be followed. to the letter, 100% compliance, and it's the township's responsibility to ensure that those public notices were provided. As you've heard, it's been demonstrated that the that alone is enough to require that this matter be tabled to another evening. Second, you have issues in the text of the notice itself. The notice says that says nothing about where the documents are available, how they can be accessed by members of the public. That's another requirement of Chapter 49 of Title 40. And I'd ask that you really consider that, again, as has been said, public notice is a key element of public trust in the council and your actions. And with the number of issues that you're faced with tonight, I think it would be very prudent that you consider tabling this matter to a further hearing. Now, my client feels frankly disappointed. We have had meetings the anticipated development of their site. And the meetings occurred at a point in time prior to the adoption or prior to the first reading of the ordinance in question. And my team was not aware of the fact that the township was considering an ordinance that would outlaw the use that they were proposing and that they were meeting with the township about. Now, they're sophisticated developers, experienced developers in the warehousing industry. They wanted to do the right thing, come to the township, build a relationship, propose a plan that would meet everybody's expectations and comments. We feel that the rug has been ripped out from underneath us with this ordinance, especially in the manner in which it was introduced. Being put on an agenda as a discussion item, and then that being transferred to the first reading of the ordinance. And then tonight, with the second reading of the ordinance being conducted on improper notice. Those in building trust with the community and in transparency going forward, and also, reiterate. The other issue I'd like to bring your attention is there is a law in New Jersey cannot adopt ordinances that place an undue burden on particular properties just on an arbitrary basis, which singles out those parcels for less favorable treatment than neighboring parcels. At the November council meeting, there were two properties that were specifically mentioned by name. Those would be the Ingersoll Rand site and the Strikers Road properties, one of which is my client's property that they're looking to develop. It seems that there's a clear intention here to make this ordinance particularly effective on projects that the township anticipates are coming down the pike. And that is something that the courts do not look favorably upon. I bring it to your attention because you have an opportunity now to reconsider the ordinance, and I'd ask that you please table this matter until after the new an agenda that has been properly listed. Lastly, I anticipate that some of the discussion and this behind the adoption of the ordinance has to do with traffic. I will let you know that our clients have submitted an application to the planning board that has been supported by a 290-page traffic study. That is now pending before the planning board, but our traffic study indicates that there will be no issue with levels of service on our site at least. And I don't feel that that is a rational basis to consider eliminating warehousing entirely in the township. There are certainly less restrictive means by which you could address some of your concerns. And I'll just leave you with, again, I'd ask that you please table this matter to a further agenda. Thank you.
Anyone else? Public comment, agenda items only. John?
We have some online too, once he's done.
John Betts again, Break Recordings, 225 Red School Lane, Part 114. On this agenda, on this matter and the roads. And I eventual pileup on Strikers Road, which is going to occur someday, and on traffic studies done today, as in comparison to what will develop. Will all of these developers, or this particular developer, agree to a taxation situation which they will maintain the road system that their property empties out onto?
Two people on here. Here, let
Okay.
me unmute.
Address,
Let's try to unmute her. Let me try Teresa. Hold on. Okay, Teresa.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, this is Teresa Dwayne. I live at 12 Limerick Lane. I've been a resident here my entire life. I hope that we can pass this ordinance to not allow these warehouses to come in. We have already have more than enough for this township. It is despicable what has happened to our township of green and farm acres. And I understand that the buyers and their attorneys are saying certain things. However, it is important to the residents to feel like they have a home and have a say in what happens here. I believe that this ordinance should go through, and you should protect our values of our home and what actually goes on here. The attorneys and those owners don't live here. So I believe that you should make the ordinance go through of preventing any more warehouses go through and protect our interests and what actually happens in our township. That's all. Thanks.
thank you.
We have to get Pam. Hold on. Pam? I'm trying to see if she's still here. Yeah, Pam Thomas. Let me see. I don't see her anymore. Hold on, we have one. Okay, go ahead, Gina Marie.
Hello, everybody. I have a couple questions for the council.
Gina?
I be disabled, so I wanted to know if you are going to reasonable accommodate all these notices that they were chit-chatting about before with the legal whatevers. The library's closed. I have no printer. I very limit computer. I had to borrow something from my neighbor today to get on the Zoom. It hurts my heart that it was disgusting tonight to not be able to listen here and learn. I live in Overlook. I've been blessed with it being able to get a unit here on the affordables. I'm scared to death that you're putting more trucks on our roads. It's not just a warehouse going to be in our backyard. We're overwhelmed with traffic around here as is, and our roads are too narrow, too small. If you look right outside where I live, you pass Strikers, you go down before you get to 57. There's the tunnels for the railroad. I live here less than a year, and I can't tell you how many times I've seen the 18-wheelers blocking the roads, almost causing accidents because they ignore the sign that says they can't get through there. So what are you gonna do when you put more trucks right on top of where there's too many trucks now? I'm concerned, so I'm against this. I know that's hurtful, but that's how I feel. And I need to know how you're gonna be able to make this so where we can understand what happened tonight, because this Zoom was ridiculous. And I need reasonable accommodates so I can learn and be aware and be involved in where I've been blessed able to live. Thank you much for your times.
Thank you.
Pam,
Stand back.
yeah, Pam's back. Okay, go ahead, Pam.
Hi, my name is Pam Thomas. I live at 6 Wordsworth Lane in Lopatcong. And I need to state up front that whatever I say tonight is my own opinion. Since I am a member of our school board, I am not speaking for our local school board. I am speaking tonight in favor of the ordinance that was posted. I am hopeful that all of that information is the correct numbers. I do not believe that our township needs any more warehouses. I think that I've lived here 30 years, and I just feel that this is bad usage for our township. The truck traffic is ridiculous, and this is not the township that I moved into. I don't believe that this is what the majority of our residents want. And so I am speaking up at this meeting, and I hope that this is not freezing, because the sound and everything else having to do with this Zoom meeting, I have to agree with everyone, has been really horrendous. And it's unfortunate. So I'm just speaking, letting you know that at least my opinion is that I would like you to pass the ordinance that does change the permitted uses to not allow any more warehousing or distribution centers. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Pam.
Thank you.
We have 3 more. We were able to hear. Barbara, go ahead. Barbara. It says Barbara Home. I'm trying to unmute you.
Apologies.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
This is Barbara Horn. I live at Marlborough Circle, overlook at Lopatcong. Briefly, I would just want to be sure that both the members of the board, as well as the attorneys representing the interests of the warehouses, understand that when this meeting commenced at about 7:40 p.m. this evening, there were nearly 100 residents of both Overlook as well as Lopatcong at large. And I would dare say that we are all here on a Zoom meeting to show our support that this pass, that the ordinance pass that would allow that there be an end to the warehouses. We are at a disadvantage as a community because of COVID-19, that we are not able to physically show our strength of numbers, 100 or so strong, in chambers this evening. And we've had to do it in a very compromised way over this particular Zoom meeting. But I really just want to express my concern, and I'm sure there are others who will weigh in on this too, that please hear our voices, that we are in favor of passing the ordinance that will restrict further development of warehouses in our community. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
We got a few more. Okay. Okay, go ahead, Tiffany.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Waplehurst and I live in Overlook at Lopatcong on Honeybrook Circle. I've lived in this area for 15 years and I moved here because it was idyllic with the countryside and the trees. And I actually live in a property that backs up right where the warehouse is. I do not feel safe having a warehouse directly behind my house. I'm I don't want to have the noise pollution, the air pollution. It's bad enough that we have the warehouses that went up on 22 and the one on Stryker Road, which again, it's already there in place, but I get woken up every morning at 7 a.m. listening to the trucks go by and all of the backing up of construction equipment and so on. And I'm favorable for the ordinance to be passed because we do not need another warehouse. This community we have in Overlook, it's idyllic. I have people that come to visit me from out of state, and everyone mentions how it's like a little piece of heaven with all of the greenery. And I mean, yes, we have the shopping nearby, which is great, but we want to be able to keep that sense of, again, the idyllic location that I had when I moved here 15 years ago. And the noise pollution, the air pollution, I just think we need to protect the town and keep the warehouses to be done with them. Like, we have enough in the area, the traffic, we just need to be done with it. That's all I have to say. I think you need to pass the ordinance.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Leanne unmuted. Leanne, can you unmute yourself?
I did. Thank you so much. My name's Leanne Alves. I actually live on Strikers Road across the street from the golf course. And Tiffany, the noise pollution has already started. At 4:30 in the morning when I start my day, I can hear all the tractor trailers on the opposite end of Strikers Road. I think we all understand that the demolition of the farm on Strikers Road has forever changed our township. How to even go back to the way it was 6 months ago will be impossible. The least that this board can do is to prevent further damage to the rest of this community, because now you're not just looking at an eyesore every time you start Strikers Road going into Lopatcong. Now you're looking at empty buildings throughout all of the whole entire area. This is a time for this community. The very least that this board can do is to stop another warehouse in this township. So yes, I agree with everybody here that's taking the time to make sure that another warehouse is not part of this township.
Thank you, Leanne. Next is Doug. Hold on. All right, Doug, you can unmute.
Thank you very much. I too rise in support of the ordinance. I understand that there may be some issues relative to notices, but I also think, even though the audio was quite poor this evening, that some of the statements on the part of the attorney that spoke first were not entirely accurate, and those need to be researched. I think the heart of the concern of both attorneys that spoke, whether they represented the developer or the owner or the seller or buyer, it was hard to tell from the audio who they were representing, was their fear that they would suffer economic loss if this ordinance passed. But the fact of the matter is, there are many other permitted uses of this site that this ordinance would continue to allow. So the fact that they may need to change what it is they plan to put there is an opportunity that will still exist. We as the citizens, and I doubt that the developer is one of the citizens in the township, we as the citizens will also suffer economic loss if this ordinance does not pass. We have the economic loss relative to property values. We have the economic loss relative to time lost in traveling through the township and waiting where there are stop signs, where there should have been lights, waiting for trains that have to pass, waiting for tractor trailers who are holding up traffic through multiple light cycles. There's an economic impact to those sorts of things, as well as a health impact relative to raising the level of air pollution within the township. New Jersey already has among the nation's worst air quality, including Warren County. And there are many, many ways that the citizens will suffer loss if this ordinance does not pass. I understand there may be mechanical issues relative to notices and all of those sorts of matters. But I think that we need to take a deep breath, maybe have to take some time to fix those deficiencies, as they were called. But in the meantime, I think that the township also needs to hold in abeyance any permit applications for use of the property till the matter is resolved. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
We have a couple people in the room, and I'll get back to people on here.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. I thank the council for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Mike Paulsonelli. I'm president of Warren County Building Trades. I'm also the rep for Local 102 IBEW. I represent 3,000 members. In Warren County, or in Lopatcong Township, we have several hundred members throughout all the trades. For years, we have watched the council fight to keep a balanced budget and our taxes low. We have seen quite a bit of residential apartment developments, retail properties. Is the slow deterioration of Phillipsburg Mall. The town did a great thing when it supported the redevelopment of Ingersoll Rand property. For years, it sat there rusting away. And today, there are new warehouse buildings bringing hundreds of full-time jobs and, even more importantly, tax ratables to the town. I applaud the vision of the council working to balance out the growth. When complete, there will be between 2,000 and 3,000 full-time jobs at Ingersoll Rand. As I understand it, Stryker's Road section was also planned to be a location for the use like warehouses. 2020 hit, and it hit us all hard due to the pandemic. Unemployment is up, restaurants are closing, people are falling behind on their rent and mortgage payments. For what I understand, the development properties will create over 1,000 full-time jobs and hundreds of construction jobs. Our tradesmen are hurting right now. We need to work to provide for our families. By voting yes on this ordinance, you're taking our members' livelihood and all those jobs. I'm asking the council to vote no on this amendment. We have previously worked with Bridge Development on the Ingersoll Rand project and put local members to work. And I've never worked with a developer who has been as fair to the building trades as Bridge Development. I also pulled up the unemployment stats. I pulled up all Warren County. The total workforce in Warren County is 56,060. Unemployment is 1,875. Lopatcong Township labor force 4,389. Employed 4,276. Unemployed 122. The latest numbers I pulled up, and I think it's going to be a little low. The population in Lopac Township I have is 8387, but I believe that's a little low from today's population in Lopac. Some other things I pulled up from the 20 cents analysis, which in Warren County is $61,053. The largest portion of earnings are between $20,000 and $49,999, which is 22% of the total. The typical number of hours worked in a week is 38.6. Warren County shows that has a self-employment of 11.5%, which is in the middle range. Warren County has shown a percent of population in poverty is at 7.6%. At work, the city or place where they live is 16%. So I pulled up all these stats because all I do is put people to work, put my local brothers and sisters to work. We do a lot with the communities. We do a lot of volunteer work. We like to give back to the communities where we work, and we've done it very well. So I'm urging the council to reconsider this ordinance. You're going to put a lot of people to work with this. Ingersoll has been a home run, I think, for Phillipsburg and Lopat with the taxes, the jobs that are coming out there. And I thank you for your time.
My name is Lucine Deschler Parapressa. I live at 269 State Route 57. I came having some talking points in my head. I've been listening and I've had more, so they may be a little disconnected, bear with that. I want to start by saying, Lou, I remember when you knocked on the door when you were first coming to Common Council, and I was really impressed by you. And I ended up voting for you. Jim, you and I have gone to elementary school.
Yes,
and high
forgive me for
school.
not recognizing you, but it's been 40 some years.
Yes, it's been a long time. And our mothers knew each other.
Yes.
I've heard people who from Overlook state about how they're concerned, they know how they're going to be affected. I have lived in that house the people that are selling are in contract with the warehouse people, NFI. They are a family-owned business. I am one of 12 property owners of that parcel. That parcel has been in the family. We have owned the property where we live for 120 years. So I do not take what happens lightly. And one of the reasons I have always advocated for what happens in Lopat is I do believe you have the best interest at heart for this township. I've been very impressed. What concerns me is that for the last 2 years, we have been in contract with the NFI. My mother was the last of the 4 siblings who inherited the property from her parents. She was in the process of dying when NFI and we agreed that until she passed, we would not sell the land, out of respect for her. I love the land. I hated to see it go. I am only one of 19 people that are connected to this property. I don't have the right to say we're not selling when this property was the investment of the family for 8 seniors currently. It's their retirement money. Total of 19 people who are looking, we have kept the property, we have farmed the property. I also will be looking out at the warehouse. So for those people at Overlook that are bringing to the attention of what's going to happen, it's happening to a family member for 62 years, has looked out across the road and has seen the property that we own. So this was the fact it is a family-owned business. And after landlocked. It is not a warehouse that's going to be seen from the road. It is tucked back. It is behind trees from the railroad site. NFI has assured me, and I trust them with the dealings I've had, that yes, we too are going to see the warehouse. It's going to be a very nice warehouse. It will be landscaped. They are very, very conscious of the fact that people will be looking at this. I do not have the impression it's going to look anything like the warehouses that are going up on Strikers Road that used to be the Santini one that is currently being constructed. I don't think NFI and their attorneys, everyone in on the council at the Highlands was very supportive of this. And all of a sudden, I feel blindsided. My brother is here. I am here. We have family members on Zoom that are here. We all feel blindsided that this has come out of nowhere. It's probably and to be honest with you, I am utterly confused as to how all of Strikers Road is going to be developed in this manner with the exclusion of our 45 acres. How is that right? I have paid taxes the whole time I've lived here. My mother has paid taxes the whole time. We have invested in this community, and warehouses do not bring children to the schools. It's going to bring a lot of very, very confused after 2 years of being given the go-ahead and being encouraged. Why all of a sudden, when we're right down to the wire, and after all this money has been invested by NFI, why now? I'm that we have researched and we have looked at what the highest and best, and this is so in essence, you are basically, you might as well be robbing the bank that we have put our investment in for decades, and we will end up with nothing. And I don't understand how that is fair when everything else on Strikers Road has been developed. The other thing I heard in here was this concern about warehouses and one else is going to see it. My understanding is I don't think it's going to affect the traffic as much as what people are concerned about. And as I'm saying, I live across the street from it. Unlike the people in Overlook, I have been here a century more. I believe that development was built somewhere around the year 2000. I have been here, my family has been here for a century longer than Overlook by the time they put that first foundation in. And I think that is something that needs to be considered. If I'm done.
Thank you very much. Gentleman in the back.
If you can, just make sure you lean into the mic the whole time.
Just good.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name is Will McCann. I live in 874 Hill Street in Phillipsburg. I don't do these things. I don't come here and get involved in this. Sometimes I feel like my word's not gonna matter, but this one I have a say, I wanna have a good say, and I want my opinion heard at least. Strikers Road, my kids, we go to Rita's, and we used to sit there, go around Ras and look at the farm, and just look at the landscape, and we love it, just see the rolling hills. So it exists. I have a friend that lives in the farmhouse on the right-hand side that's still there, the brick one. I've gone up and down that road. I do a lot of running, and I can't believe that the actual farm is gone now, and that this is even considering being built and taking down the solar fields. To me, the solar fields being put up was like a drastic thing. So I was like, oh my gosh, we're no longer having trees for animals, and I'm really big into nature. But as time passed, trees have grown all around. They have nice little pine trees in front. You can see the animals running up and down. To that lady and her family, it's an investment. It's money. Of course, they're always going to be, you know, looking out for themselves. This is more than I think $1.00 sign for the town. I think this should be, you know, keep solar fields there. They're not bothering anybody. The trees around it are growing. Everything's fine. The traffic are going to come in off the other farm to the left-hand side if you're going from Rita's to 57. You know, that's already whatever that is. If they're going to destroy the roads, you're aware, I'm aware. I work construction, so I know what's going to wind up happening. Roads are going to be demolished. They're going to have to be repaved over and over and over again, salt and whatever that they're going to need. It's just going to destroy it. So I'm all for the guy that was saying that they should, if they should maintain those roads, that industry that's coming up with those warehouses. I'm all for that. To allow them to build more, I don't think is a great idea. I think, me personally, it's bothersome. That's really all I wanted to say. You guys enjoy?
Yes, ma'am. Here, you.
Age is creeping up on me. My word for today is commitment. My name is David Deschler. I had the privilege of growing up for the first 18 of my life years in Lopatcong Township. Loved the outdoors, played on all the athletic fields. My father worked at Emerson Ranch for 41 years. In Lopatcong Township, graduated to help me go to Virginia Tech. And I know during that time, all 12 family owners had their ebbs and financials. And there was a commitment made at that time that my mother, who had stayed back as one of the 4 siblings, to remain on the property because of her love of the open spaces in Lopatcong Township, that we all agreed that no farmland would be sold until after her death. Well, sadly to say, she succumbed at age 91 on December 19th, 2019. A few months later was when we signed an agreement with NFI. What is confusing to me is that how this supposed project of 44 acres, it's not a 79 acre lot, it's not a 150 acre lot, it's a 44 acre landlocked farm acreage. And NFI for close to 2 years supposedly with everything being back and forth and positive, and then when we're a few months away from completion, the rug is just pulled out from underneath us. I see no reason why this should not be at least grandfathered in. I know the cost that the family members have spent on attorneys, on fees, and on geographical studies, but that's a mere comparison to what NFI has spent for all their geographical studies and excavating and attorneys and cost, engineering and plans. But for me to look at Lopatcong, which I always thought was doing such a stellar example of how a township should be run, I'm completely confused. Pulling the rug out of a project that's been underway for 2 years. Unless I am mistaken, I believe you all have met with NFI more than a half dozen times. Maybe I have been misled. But I got the impression that this thing was being worked so that they're doing whatever they can to appease Lopatcong and vice versa. I know that in my estate plans, I've actually bequeathed a small portion of the land to my son who's in his 20s. He's a doctor at Arizona State, and a daughter who's in Austin, Texas. There's 2 other family members, their children in their 20s and 30s that own a small piece. So this is not only for 3 or 4 people. This is a generation. Well, looked forward to for over 25 years. I know that when I came back to take care of Robert Worley, my uncle, who lived next door in the late 1990s, things got tight. He had to spend his last 5 years at Brinkley Park. You all know what nursing homes cost. We wouldn't even consider the fact of we had offers of selling farmland back then because of the commitment we made. So my word to you all is the commitment that you showed over the last 20 months in dealing with NFI should continue. I don't know if you call it grandfathering it in or the last industrial warehouse. But as my sister said, to me makes a lot of sense. We're not asking for asphalt. These people from Overlook, they talk about being there for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. That's nothing. That family's been here for 100 years. Excuse me, I guess. So my only question or appeal is to continue the commitment that you have shown ever since I was a young boy in doing the right thing. And I'm sure if you went to NFI and you had to carve out certain additional variances or certain things that you did not want, they would compromise. So I think my sister said it best. I have to commend her because usually I'm the talker, but I think she has said it best. That warehouses are not there's a lot more industrial things that can go up there that would skyrocket pollution, cause environmental concerns. I know I came here, I think when Matt Curry was on the board, and they were going through things with the asphalt company and things like that. I mean, we're not asking for anything extraordinary. We're just asking to be treated fairly. So thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen all the way in the back.
Good evening, council, mayor.
Good evening.
I live in the brick house on Strikers Road. So if there's a warehouse put up on the other side of me, I wake up to 2 concrete walls. I drive that road every day, 20 times a day, sometimes 100 times a day. That road's shit. It's gone. It's packed over. Suspension shot. don't want this warehouse going in. I'm not happy with the one that's going in already. There's nothing we can do about that. I wasn't even aware it was going in. Excavators showed up, started knocking down the barns. Township residents had no idea it was gonna happen. There was no notice, no nothing. But there's tons of people on Zoom that don't want it. They can't be here to fight for it. You know, I got a 5-year-old little girl, truckers in and out. Anything can happen. I don't want it. That's all I got.
Then we'll go back.
With this,
The Peggy, yeah.
Ma'am, go ahead.
I'm Margaret Taylor. I live at 1016 Deerhaven, Tennessee. Community, and where I face what Strikers Road, and I will be looking at the warehouses. I also have a commitment and a loyalty to the area. My father grew up in Phillipsburg, so I am very much aware of this community, the township and all. I have a loyalty to it. I do not want to see a warehouse on Strikers Road where I will be sitting on my deck and looking actually at it. Right now, I see the solar panels. I can deal with that. They don't make any noise. They don't have any emissions coming from them. That's fine. Warehouses, no, please pass this ordinance so I can sleep at night peacefully knowing here.
Want to go back? Okay, yeah. Just unmuted. Tinka?
Can you hear me?
Tinka, are you ready? Yes, yes. Go ahead.
Hi. My name is Tinka Pritchett. I live in Maine. I'm one of the 18 folks that have a piece of that property, the Deschler property that's under consideration. I live in a small town too, and I very much sympathize and connect with the comments everyone's making. I am also reading the chat online and understand that people who are affected by the noise and the condition of the roads think that we're just out for money. It's certainly for me and my family. I have two young sons, we're all bound together by this co-ownership of this property. I want to say, obviously, I would like to sell it and have this cleared up, but I also understand what you're saying about living in a small town and worrying about the roads. I wanted to say that I had looked online for information about this, and I know that the attorneys brought that up at the beginning, but I did find that the town information about posting the meeting, access to a master plan, because evidently they found in the last planning board meeting that the ordinance was inconsistent with the master plan, no access to a master plan, no minutes to meetings, and no videos. So I wasn't able to be kept up with what was going on. It did seem like the decision to discuss this and remove the ordinance from allowable growth was very much last minute, and not, as I said, there wasn't much information leading up to a discussion of this that was available to us that live outside the town. So other than that, I appreciate listening to me, not being a town resident, but also I am a taxpayer. So thank you very much.
hold on. I have the G.
Hello? Can you hear me? That's great. It's Mike McPhee. I live up at Overlook. And I just wanted to make a few comments. I've lived out in this area since 1980, and I've watched a lot of changes go over the years. And what's happening over on Stryker Road is truly a crime. I mean, they completely have destroyed this area. I don't know how we're going to deal with tractor trailers coming down Stryker's Road. And it's unfortunate for the people who are trying to sell this 45 acres, but we had really no way of knowing about this until we heard about it. So I guess you're last in line to make a sale, and everybody's freaking out about what's going on over on Stryker Road. So I am not in favor of anything else. Getting up at 5 o'clock every morning to the sound of a sledgehammer down on Stryker Road is just really destroying this community. It's destroying Lopatcong. And the habitat is changing. I mean, there's mud all over the place. I mean, it's a crime to what's going on around here. And the guy who made the comparison about the warehouse that's going up on Stryker's Road to Ingersoll and Rand, he should be ashamed of himself. The Ingersoll Rand property has been derelict for 25 years. They couldn't do anything with it because the soil was contaminated. So the fact that they built a warehouse, bent the rules to get a warehouse on there, and start making your complaints about that we should do what we're doing on Stryker Road, you should be ashamed of yourself. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
They won't need a provision for these guys or whatever, other than you come down 519 you come from 519 and go on to Stryker's Road and go back up 519 to Stryker's Road. That's where you are. That's where you should be. That's what you should do. That's the easiest way. They don't need to run all over town. They're not going to be running all over town. They're not going to run on the other side of Stryker's Road. The other side of Stryker's Road is houses, is homes. that other side of Strikers Road is really towards me. And the people that come see me are on 519. They'll come up 519, 57 to 519, or Strikers Road to 519, and then come over to me. That's how they do it. But it should be that they, if they're going to have a place, it should be that they come off of 519 and get on the Strikers Road and then go back up to 519 again and out on the 22. You know, by doing that to them, you're doing things to me. You're taking away warehousing out of the cubic warehousing. They're cube, but you're taking my warehousing. If I had warehousing, I have warehousing. My ROM, you're taking my 9 or 10 buildings and you're turning them into offices or into an empty property. This is not something, these guys have to make a living too. And the people selling the property have to make a living. We're not here just to take and create havoc and create problems for people. We try to take and solve that problem by being on the least amount of township roads as possible. So if they came in on 519 to Strikers Road and then back out Strikers Road to 519, you would have all that. The traffic would be less on all of our township roads. You can't do away with research, office, and manufacturing. If you have research, office, and manufacturing as research, office, and manufacturing, it's got to be research, office, and manufacturing. Now, I am a little bit different than these guys are because I have houses, I have offices, I have all kinds of stuff on my property that doesn't pertain to research, office, or manufacturing. It's not just research, office, or manufacturing. I have residences and I have other things. So I'm a little different than these guys are. But to keep them in the town, keep them away from everybody else, they can be on Strikers Road and go back out 519-22. They're not all over town. They're not all over everywhere because they don't need to be all over everywhere. These guys don't need to be everywhere and anywhere. They need to go to that project and away from that project. So, you know, that's what it is. So that's what it is. And what is it going to be for me eventually? Is it going to be where somebody takes and cuts something out for me? That's not fair. That's not fair. That's not fair to me. That won't be fair to them. And whatever's with you won't be fair to you either. So it's something to think about.
Yeah, I have Jim Belsky.
Okay.
Jim, you there?
Yeah. Hi
Hey.
there. Good evening, everybody. This is Jim Belsky. I'm at 1020 Deerhaven Terrace in Overlook. I just wanted to say I support the passing of this ordinance, considering the two nearly 5 million square foot warehouses that have just been developed within miles of each other. I believe this is a common sense and well within the right of the township and responsibility to modify zoning to balance development accordingly. There should never be a guarantee or expected right for any particular development intention. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, I have Sabrina. Hold on, where's she go? Sabrina, go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Sabrina Cassie, and I also live in the Overlook. I moved here about 10 years with my daughters because it was a nice, quiet, safe area. Although I do agree that it's not going to be a good view for everyone here, and I don't think that we need any more warehouses. My biggest concern is the traffic that it's going to cause. It's already horrific around here with the trucks that we do have, and it's backed up sometimes way past the library and to the intersection where they would be coming out. And to think that we would have even more trucks and more traffic coming through, it's just we can't handle it. There's, like somebody else mentioned, there's plenty of times when the trucks get lost and they come down and jam up the tunnel down by us. There's accidents everywhere. And it's really terrifying to think that in a year, my daughter is going to be driving and she's going to have to deal with having to think about all of the trucks that are going to be coming out and getting lost in the area. And I really think that you should pass the ordinance because we came to this town. I mean, I've lived in Warren County all my life, but we came here for the peace and quiet and the safety, and it's going to disappear if you guys continue to build warehouses in the area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me see. I have Patty. Yeah.
Hi.
Lining
Yes,
Hello.
my Patty Lonenbach, and I live in Overlook. I actually have a question, and I apologize if it's already been addressed. Two parts to it. First, are you expecting to make any changes to the railroad trestle to accommodate tractor trailers on 519? And the second question is, is this rezoning proposal specific to Strikers Road, or is it covering all of Lopatcong Township to ensure that no warehouses can be built further within the township anywhere?
Just lean into the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you not hear?
No, he got it. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
To my knowledge, there's no plans by anyone to enlarge the height of the trestle under the railroad. The second part is this applies to the district, not Strikers, applies to the RUM district. So wherever there's a RUM district,
will you be revisiting zoning throughout the township, or are we going to be here again at some future time when we're a day late and a dollar short because somebody's done a lot of work to look at putting a warehouse near the fairgrounds or anywhere else? Or can we do this up front for other areas of the township?
This is to the RUM district.
Pardon?
This is for the RUM district. I don't have a zoning map in front of me, but you can see whether the RUM covers a number of areas in the town.
Do you want, it's Paul?
Can we do the full township? I mean, you have the authority to do the full township, correct? And I know it can't be done under this one, and I strongly urge you to approve.
RUM district is what allows development of this type.
Okay.
So if you alter the RUM district, I think the only thing that's left, there is a proposal for a warehouse at the mall, site of the Phillipsburg Mall. That's a different district. That would be handled separately.
Okay, well, that's good news. All right, then I have to support those who are saying, please pass this proposal this evening.
Thank you, Patty. I have another one on here. It is a phone number 973-865-8269. You're unmuted. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello. Go ahead.
Yes.
Yes, my name is Ray. I've lived in Warren County my whole life. And I want to make a point. I hear a lot of people from the overlooked region. And I remember when the overlook was being built, the argument was going to be the traffic, the overcrowding of our school system, the cars. But everyone in the overlook now doesn't want to see a warehouse. I believe this community needs to be able to employ people, and that's a perfect opportunity. These warehouses are employing a lot of people. There's no pollution coming from these warehouses. You know, the same people oppose when the Lowe's went up, when the Home Depot went up. You know, a quick comment. If you don't like progress, you're going to love extinction. This is not going to create trucks going up and down 519. And I will say this, I've lived here a long time. The road improvements that they've done on Route 22 since the warehouse went up at the old Ingersoll site, which I used to work at years ago, it has improved the roads greatly. I am not in favor of passing an ordinance. Thank you.
Let me see who else I have on. You think I have one more. Hold on. It's CB. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. My name's Catherine Burton. I do not live in Overlook. I live at 201 South 7th Street in Lopat. I'm off of 22, kind of in that neighborhood behind Key City Diner. And I did want to mention, we have had an increase in tractor trailers getting lost in our neighborhood. I live off of Baltimore Street. I have children, I have neighbors, the kids are riding their bikes. Tractor trailers are trying to cut through when they see traffic on 22. They cut through a neighborhood, they pull over, they try to get through the Big Lots parking lot, the Rite Aid parking lot, all to get around, to get to Roseberry Street, to cross over and get to the warehouse. So there is additional traffic. There, you know, maybe traffic, you're saying that they're going to use specific routes, this and that. They end up in the residential neighborhoods. They end up in our community. You know, I do feel bad. It sounds like the people trying to sell their property, you know, they've been here a long time, but they're leaving now. And we're here. We have children that are growing up, and we want our children to grow up in this beautiful, safe community. Part of the problem is the lack of communication. People did not know about this until recently. So I know a lot of the family and people trying to sell say they were blindsided. Well, so were we. We didn't know that all this is going on. So, you know, I just would urge you to pass this ordinance, because the future people who are living here with their families, raising their families here, we want it to be a safe community, and just to, you know, have our children grow up the way that you all did. And building warehouses is not what we want. So that's just my comment, and thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's all I had on here.
Anyone else? Yes, Lucine.
It's Lucine Carapresso again. I just want to respond to something I just heard. And that is when they were saying they were blindsided. It's an ROM area. You can't be blindsided when it's been designated that. So if, just like, you know, we know it's ROM. That's why NFI was able to come in and so easily they have the railroad tracks. It's ROM. Everything that they needed was there. So for someone to say they were blindsided, you can't be blindsided when something was an ROM. We were blindsided in the fact that we were only doing and only staying within the bounds what we knew. We had a property ROM. We did everything, and NFI is doing everything that they were legally supposed to be doing. They have the assurance of you guys. They invested a lot of money. We sat back, we waited. And I know some people think it's all about the money. It's not just about the money. It's about integrity. It's about when you say you're going to do something, you do it. You know, when you're supporting somebody, you support them, and you don't bail at the last minute. So, you know, I love Lopat, and when they were saying we're moving out, I still have my residence on the highway. My son lives with me in the other house. So no, the family is not bailing out of Lopat. We are part of Lopat. We will continue to be part of Lopat. We are, my brother now lives in Lopat at the family homestead. So no, the family is not bailing out. We also are going to be looking, as I said earlier, the visuals are going to affect us as much as anyone else. The noise will affect us as much as anyone else. But there, a commitment was made, encouragement was given, and then all of a sudden, in the 9th hour, we're suddenly told, no, you can't do this. And we are probably the only undeveloped property back there, except for the little house. Somebody, yes, thank you. I always like that little house, by the way. Except for that little house, you know, and I can understand when I go down that road and I miss that farm, you know. I can't remember who used to live there, Post Farm. I miss seeing that Post Farm. I can't, I'm shocked every time I go through it, but you know what? What NFI is proposing is nothing like what they're doing there. It's far from it. And so before people want to jump to that conclusion, maybe they need to look at the site plans and they need to find out more of what exactly they're going to be looking at. The people from Overlook, you know, but I'm in the same boat that they are. You know, would I like to see it continue as farmland? Yes. But you know what? It's not even, it's ROM. It's been designated that way. And I don't think you can pull the rug out at the 9th hour. And as my brother said, even if you change the, what can be built, we should be grandfathered in because it was our own property when you guys were all interacting with NFI. You knew this was coming. You knew this was coming. And that's where the biggest shocker comes from. Because usually, you know, I can see what you, I know you love this township. I love the township. It's been great, you know, but to pull this, then at least we should be grandfathered in.
I have 2 more on here.
Okay, go ahead.
Bill, you can go.
Good evening, everybody. I would just like to say a few things. First of all, to begin with, the attorneys in the beginning talked about inadequate notification. We have close to or over 100 people on Zoom. I wonder how many more would be on if this was, as they would term, adequate. And I am in favor of this resolution. The other comments I would like to make is, as far as I know, the Greenwich Township Bridge between 519 and 57 has a weight limit on it. So what is going to be done at the light at Strikers and 57, because currently it takes 3 or 4 lights on a regular day, like at rush hour at 5 o'clock, just to get through it. Another comment I'd like to say is the one person was talking about jobs. The warehouse that was built is being built across the street wasn't union. Will this one be? Also, as he was talking about the construction jobs, as far as I'm understanding, is it's just a basically for how many months and they're gone. The other thing is, if you look all over, especially on Route 78 going out towards Cabela's and everything, how many vacancies are there for all of these warehouses? And another question is, since people are complaining about the sound, what is the township doing? I mean, should they be banging and everything at 5 a.m.? Where is the sound enforcement? And why aren't the people that are hearing this calling into the police department to complain? And as I said, you know, about the deal with NFI for the past 2 years. So it's been hidden from the public for 2 years, because this is the first that I'm realistically hearing about this. And that's my comments. Thank you. And my name was Tim Southwick of 22 Meadowview Drive.
All right. I have Susan, Schultz. Go ahead, Susan. There you are. Okay, good. Go ahead.
Yeah, Howard and Susan. When Susan's the daughter of one of the the owners back in the 50s or 30s when the property came up. She's hearing impaired, so I'm going to try. I'm her husband, and I'm on we're on the property, but we're against the ordinance, and we one of the owners of the properties, we would like to see the warehouse being built. We're part of, I guess, 2 people and 19 people, and we're looking to sell it. And for the children, we have children. Everybody in the group has children, grandchildren, and this is going to be something that's going to be handed down to them. And but I got a disabled child too, unfortunately. Yeah.
Well, we have multiple family owners now.
I just want to say that
most of them are retired.
Yeah, we're retired.
You know, we were looking for something to hand down to them.
But I think, I think the warehouse will work for everybody. It's a win-win for us and for the community. If you look down the line with jobs coming in, revenue coming in, and I understand some of the issues with traffic. Totally, I'm living around Philly. I know traffic, and it is definitely an issue. Hopefully, there can be adjustments made that can accommodate some of the issues and the complaints of the traffic and the roads. But that's pretty much what I wanted to say. So we'd like to see this happen because it's been in the works for 2 years. It seems like we're singled out here, rug's been pulled out from under us on something that has been ongoing. NFI, who has put money into it and done a lot of research, soil samples, sewer samples, everything was rolling along 2 years. And then all of a sudden it stops. And I don't think that's fair. And I hope the project can continue. You're looking at tractor trailers. Tractor trailers aren't going away. Warehouses aren't going away. It's a new era now. Unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know how to put it. But anyway, I hope the township rejects the ordinance and goes along with the warehouse. I think for everybody, it'll be a win. Mostly everybody. Some naturally is always something that won't be. But anyway, okay, that's all I got to say. Thank you very much.
For the man that keeps raising his hand, you need to
acknowledge him. Say his name.
My daughter just said somebody keeps raising his hand, so maybe you can acknowledge him next.
He's not actually doing it on the.
Okay. All right. I thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.
iPad 2. Hold on. I'll unmute you.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
My husband and I, the Canes, we live at Overlook. We were one of the first residents. We moved in 20 years ago. And our house, because it was one of the first units, faces 519. And in the history of those 20 years, I have seen semis become accordions, trying to get through the tunnel. And when that happens, the foundation of our house shakes. That's point one. The other one was that we have the Ingersoll going in, which is humongous. And I understand the plan is for 2 other buildings that are similar to do that. And as well as the warehouse that's going to go in where the Phillipsburg Mall was. We have people that are fighting warehouses down 519 in White Township. We have friends in Franklin who are fighting to prevent warehouses in Franklin. I have friends from Bethlehem in Pennsylvania, where the whole 22 is filled with warehouses. And I said to them, when Ingersoll was being built, what is it going to be like? And they said, you won't be able to move. 22 can't handle all of the trucks that are there. Now, we came here 20 years ago. This is our retirement home. We've spent the 20 years or our whole practically professional life in conservation. And we chose this area because of the beauty of it, because of Merrill Creek, because we have that lovely pathway that we can walk on. We're in our 80s now. I have not been on 22. I stay away from 22 because of the trucks. I use side streets to get to the stores. I don't go to many of the stores because of the trucks. Now, I understand property ownership and fairness. And I'm thinking, I spent we did our whole professional life in conservation, and life ain't fair. There are lots of things that are presently extinct, and it ain't fair because we don't understand the wholeness, how everybody has to profit. And I do not believe that this building is going to help in any way the well-being of this community. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Out.
That's all I had on here.
That's it?
Yeah, so I don't know what you wanna.
Yes, sir.
Oh, here we go. I gotta plug in.
Be brief, please.
Thank you. Let's not be brief. It's usually the curse when an attorney says that. I want to be clear about one point. And I'm not asking this board to either adopt, obviously, the ordinance change, but I'm not asking you to deny that tonight either. As the members of the public and folks that are here have all highlighted, they have an opinion about this. What I'm asking is that this board, this governing body follow the law. Highlighted notices that are defective, and that's not my opinion about whether they're defective or not. There's a legal standard. You have an attorney that represents a municipality. I'd recommend you go into executive session, have that discussion with the attorney, because if the notices are defective, Mr. Mayor and as members of the council know, this goes to court. We're not looking for you to do anything on this to deny the ordinance tonight. We're asking you to table it to make sure that you're doing this right. That's what we're asking for this evening. I think a lot of the folks that have spoken up tonight, especially those folks that highlighted the fact that they couldn't get on Zoom or they couldn't hear. I received 2 texts, one from my court reporter, also from the associate, said there were 2 instances where they were just completely cut off, where they could see us but not hear us, and then vice versa. They could hear us but not see us. So I think there are some substantial problems that I'd ask that you consider. What I'm asking you is to table this, renotice as would be required, come back, have a full and fair hearing, larger venue perhaps, so more people can actually participate. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Will McKenna again. I don't disagree with this guy. I think he's correct. There should be more people here. There most definitely should be. To the family, there's only 4 or 5 people that say that they live in this area. The rest of them are all over the scattered from Philly to Maine, other places. Dollar and cents is all I'm hearing. What it comes down to, they don't care about what they're going to say, except for the ones that are here, and they're being believed, or that they're going to see something, and what's built is going to be something else. Like I said before, I work construction. I do a lot of high-rise concrete, a lot of foundation work in New York City. What they put on the sidewalks are supposed to be what you're supposed to see, right? When the building's up, it looks nothing like that. It's made so people can see it. It's called eye candy. It's not what happens. The roads are going to get destroyed and stuff like that. You already know that. You heard it from 1,000 people. Again, I don't disagree with this man with saying we should get more people here. Maybe another hearing, like you were saying, for wall reasons or whatever, but I still believe that the thing should not be up. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing and hearing none, there's just one thing that I would like to say. Basically, about the people that are selling this property. The scene, it's been 44 years. I have not seen you since high school. However, well aware of your family ties here as you are mine. If over the years, the attitude was taken that, nothing should be sold, well, that's kind of ridiculous. I mean, if somebody comes up and wants to offer you $2 million for your property and you're willing to sell it, they can have the right to do that. So I certainly don't blame the sellers in this particular instance. I've known them my entire life. My commitment to them and to the township. I mean, I'll be 63 next month, and I've been here for all those 63 years. If I felt about the people that moved into Berkeley Park, Country Hills, Warren Heights as outsiders, shame on me. It's just part of progress that you see through the years. The way townships and municipalities balance that growth and how you handle it determines how you come out of it. Did I want to see the Piazza Farm sold for apartments? No. I would have preferred to go in there and got my vegetables and my corn as I had for my entire life. Probably the best corn I've ever had anywhere. But if somebody comes to you and offers you millions of dollars for your property, or you can continue to get up at 2 in the morning and you've had enough, you've had enough. And there all comes that point in our lives. So no one can predict future. I'm sure back in September of 1989, when the Phillipsburg Mall opened up, we all thought that was going to be there forever. Great place. It's not. The Ingersoll property sat there for, somebody said 25. It's been at least 30 since something happened there. So these decisions to do or not to do are never, they're never easy. I'll be starting my 7th term up here over a period of 20 some years. I do this because I enjoy it, believe it or not. It's nice to see your township and your community grow, and you do your best as a councilman or a mayor to try and see that it grows proportionately with the times that we're in. A lot of people mention about the truck traffic, but don't forget Strikers Road, and you'll remember when we used to call it Hensfoot Road. From not many people would know that, but from 57 to 519, it was known as Hensfoot Road, not Strikers Road. That's trivial, but it's how far back I go. It's just these decisions are tough. This isn't anything new to Mr. Malonic or his group. Traffic studies, you can do all the traffic studies you want. Bottom line is you're not going to know what you're going to get till you get it. That's just the way it is. There are other factors involved here that I personally have thought of. I won't expound on them, but I will tell you this about Strikers Road. We had that road reconstructed probably 20 years ago, maybe. Anyway, we had a grant to do our part of Strikers Road from 57 to the township line. I think what many people fail to realize is that there are 3 entities involved with that stretch of Strikers Road. One is Lopatcong Township, one is the county, because the bridge that's there is a Warren County bridge, and the rest of it's Greenwich. I happen to work with the mayor of Greenwich, and I said, we're not going to be doing you any favors because most of the truck traffic is going to be going out into Greenwich. So these are just some of the things that come across. They're never easy. I certainly don't blame you, your family, or anybody else who wants to sell. We're all getting to that point in our lives where, you know what, it's time to take care of the next generation, which that in itself is to be commended. Not many people think about the next generation, but been up here doing this a long time. I'm very proud of the work that the former councils have done. I think we've done a great job of managing the growth in this township, trying to do what's best for all. My dealings with Mr. Malonic and his crew have been great. None of these decisions, however they're made, in my opinion, are personal. It's what I feel is best right now for this township, right now, today. I can't say like I mentioned earlier, 30 years ago in the mall, that it was going to be the best thing ever and be there forever. Nothing, as we all know, lasts forever. But I've learned a lot over the years from the so-called new people that have moved in here. And if I'd have shut them down, I would have, maybe not be the person that I am today, because I try and take a little bit from everybody that I come across. So that's all I have to say. Mr. Winter, is there anything?
No, Mayor.
That need to be said at this point?
Nope, we've provided our advice to the council and council is free to act as it deems according.
All right. Under old business, number one is to approve the executive and regular session minutes for December 2nd, 2020.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes. Councilman Del Caro?
Yes.
Councilman Toledo?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Council President Pryor?
Yes.
Mayor Mengucci?
Yes. Jeff. Jeff, you prepared on number two?
Pardon?
You prepared to speak on number two?
Yeah, I'm gonna change strategies here a little bit.
Okay.
I'll just pull this down and talk. I think the next thing up is a resolution, which really gives the reasons why we're making this change. Originally, I was just gonna summarize it, paraphrase it after listening. The first half of this meeting, I really do think it's best if we read this into the record. It's 9 pages. I have neither the eyes nor the lung capacity to do this myself. I didn't talk to Rich. He's an attorney. He's used to talking. And I think it's best that we read this aloud and then we will be voting on this.
Excuse me, is this about the ordinance of the warehouses?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know if I can come up here or not, but I have a question.
No, we're done with
But
that.
hold on, if everything's done, when do you guys get to talk about everything that's been
There'll be a
stated?
hearing on the ordinance. This is a resolution prior to that.
Okay, got it.
Rich, do you have the?
I do. Council President.
Hey, Rich, he's talking to your mic.
All right, this is a resolution 2020-156, a resolution articulating the Township Council's reasons for adopting ordinance 20-12 as inconsistent with the land use element of the Township Master Plan and re-examination reports pursuant to NJSA 40:55D-62. Whereas the Township of Lopatcong Planning Board, hereinafter referred to as Planning Board, has adopted a master plan with a land use element and subsequent master plan re-examination reports, hereinafter collectively referred to as master plan. And whereas the Township Council of the Township of Lopatcong, hereinafter referred to as council, has enacted the Lopatcong zoning and land use ordinance, hereinafter referred to as zoning ordinance, affecting the master plan. And whereas the zoning ordinance provides for warehouse and distribution centers as permitted uses with the township's ROM research, office, and manufacturing zone at chapter 243-75, open paren, capital A, close paren, open paren 2, close paren. And whereas the zoning ordinance provides for flexible office warehouse uses as permitted in the township's PD, Plan Development Overlay District at chapter 243-77.3, open paren, capital C, close paren, open paren 1, close paren, open paren, lowercase c, close paren. And whereas on November 4th, 2020, the council introduced and passed on first reading ordinance 20-12, said ordinance eliminating warehouse and distribution centers and flexible office/warehouse uses as permitted uses within the township's ROM research, office, and manufacturing zone and PD Plan Development Overlay District. And whereas pursuant to NJSA 40:55 capital D-64, the council referred ordinance 20-12 to the planning board for review. And whereas at its meeting of November 23rd, 2020, the planning board reviewed ordinance 20-12 in accordance with NJSA 40:55 capital D-26 and found same to be inconsistent with the master plan without further recommendation and memorialized its finding. And whereas the council wishes to adopt 20-12 as introduced, and whereas NJSA 40:55 capital D-62 requires the council set forth its reasons for so acting in a resolution recorded in its minutes when adopting an ordinance that is inconsistent with the master plan and a classification change. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Lopatcong and the County of Warren and State of New Jersey that it hereby adopts the following reasons for adopting ordinance 20-12. Number 1, e-commerce and the accompanying demand for high cube warehouses and distribution centers, hereinafter referred to as uses of concern, are a fairly recent and rapidly growing phenomenon within the supply chain logistics. Number 2, the Institute of Transportation Engineers in quotes, ITE, close quotes, 2016 High Cube Warehouse Vehicle Trip Analysis defines high cube warehouses as, quote, a building that typically has at least 200,000 gross square feet of floor area, has a ceiling height of 24 feet or more, and is primarily for the storage and or consolidation of manufactured goods, and to a lesser extent, raw materials, prior to the distribution to retail locations or other warehouses. A typical HCW has a high level of on-site automation and logistics management. The automation and logistics enable highly efficient processing of goods through the HCW. For the purpose of this trip generation analysis, HCWs are grouped into 5 types: fulfillment center, parcel hub, cold storage facility, transload facility, and short-term storage facility, period, close quote. Number 3, these uses of concern are substantively different from traditional warehousing uses. Uses of concern generally require greater land area for development, have significant height requirements, greater floor area ratios, and incur more frequent vehicle trip generation than have been associated with traditional warehousing. Such uses of concern also are generally multi-tenant structures, allowing for the simultaneous use of varied uses of concern. Number 4, high cube warehouse subuses such as fulfillment centers, parcel hubs, cold storage facilities, transload facilities, and short-term storage facilities each have variable traffic generation. However, whether a singular use or a combination of sub-uses, high cube warehousing creates significant trip generation. As noted by the Institute of Traffic Engineers, quote, the HCW market continues to evolve as individual tenants/owners implement different e-commerce business plans. For example, some deliver goods to the customer within 2 days and others deliver orders to the nearest store for customer pickup. As business plans and technology continue to evolve, these should continue to be monitored. Although the tenant or its planned operations are often unknown at the time of site development review, for the purpose of estimating vehicle trip generation, it may be important, pardon me, it may be as important to know the tenant as much as other facility factors, close quote. The ITE reports the weighted average rates for daily trips at high cube warehouses as follows. This is an aside, there is a chart that's identified in the resolution. It's columned. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 different items as transload and short-term storage, cold storage, fulfillment center, parcel hub, and then the IT trip generation manual 9th edition. And there are weighted average for daily trips that is calculated as a result of these different uses. And I'll just refer the listening audience and the members of the public to the resolution, which will be made available for your consideration. The reported weighted average rates for AM peak hour trips at high cube warehouses are, and there's another chart identifying what those uses are. The reported weighted average rates for PM peak hour trips at high cube warehouses are, and there's again another chart identifying those uses and trips. Number 5, as found by the Warren County Light Industrial Site Assessment Report of October 27, 2020, hereinafter referred to as County Report, Warren County and municipalities such as Lopatcong Township are strategic locations for uses of concern because of proximity to Interstate 78 and 80. Large areas available for development currently zoned for industrial development and location to metropolitan areas and other regions. Number 6, the county report identified over 4,000 acres of potential development with over 45 million square feet of potential industrial development. Number 7, the county report concluded such development would cause a substantial increase in auto and truck traffic and have major impacts on the road network, and further concluded that the roadway levels of service would deteriorate to unacceptable conditions at most analyzed intersections and mainline segments of County Road 519, which is a road that transverses Lopatcong Township and intersects with Strikers Road. Number 8, the township's current ROM zone allows a building height of 60 feet, coverage of 65%, and an allowable floor area ratio of 30%. These criteria were developed with the goal of attracting a large data centers with minimal traffic impact. Demand for high cube warehouses and uses of concern and their associated required level of road surface and traffic impact were not foreseen at the time of the adoption of the township master plans and zoning ordinance. Number 9, recent redevelopment activity and approvals for development under existing permitted uses in the township have resulted in the development of the Ingersoll Rand Tract and 3 large projects in the ROM zone along Strikers Road. Number 10, over 2 million square feet of high cube warehousing is under construction on the Phillipsburg portion of the former Ingersoll Rand tract, which shares a boundary with Lopatcong Township on 2 sides. Number 11, Lopatcong Township has recently approved 2 high cube warehouses totaling just under 1.5 million square feet, which are either complete or under construction. Number 12, it is estimated that undeveloped/underdeveloped acreage within the ROM district along Strikers Road could accommodate as much as 1.6 million additional square feet of high cube warehouse development. Number 13, based upon the lowest traffic generating high cube facility category, the ITE statistics suggest that the aforementioned potential for additional high cube warehouse development along Strikers Road alone would result in 2,291 additional daily trips, of which 726 would be attributable to trucks. During AM peak hours, approximately 131 additional trips would be generated, of which 38 are truck trips. And during PM peak hours, approximately 173 additional trips would be generated, of which 37 would be truck trips. The trip generation increase is based upon other categories of high cube warehousing. Based upon the highest generating high cube facility indicator, or category rather, the ITE statistics suggest that the aforementioned potential additional high cube warehouse development would result in approximately 17,020 additional daily trips, of which 6,411 would be attributable to trucks along Strikers Road alone. For this category of high cube warehouse during AM peak hours, approximately 1,362 additional trips would be generated, of which 677 are truck trips. And during PM peak hours, approximately 1,285 additional trips would be generated, of which 376 would be truck trips. Number 14, redevelopment status has been requested at the site of the nearly vacant Phillipsburg Mall. If approved, that would result in another 483,000 square feet of high cube warehousing in the township of Lopatcong. Number 15, it is the judgment of the council, the townships and the surrounding area's road system is not adequate to provide the level of service necessary to support further growth of uses of concern, even at the lowest traffic generating category of high cube warehouse. It is the judgment of the council that the traffic and truck trip generation associated with further uses of concern would have a substantial and detrimental impact on the local traffic and service levels of township roads. Number 16, the township's 2012 master plan reexamination report requires, quote, a balanced approach between residential and non-residential development, period, close quote. 17, in addition to the traffic concern, it is the judgment of the council that high floor to ceiling distances allowed by our current zoning require significant alteration of the existing landscape and have a tremendous visual impact. The architecture tends to be repetitive and monotonous, and that an abundance of high cube warehouses in a concentrated area will result in a densely developed neighborhood lacking in interest and character. This is inconsistent with the purposes of the municipal land use law in regard to light, air, open space, and visual environment, and in the council's judgment, not a balanced approach between residential and non-residential development. 18, moreover, the township is approaching its contractual capacity under its intermunicipal sewerage agreement with the town of Phillipsburg, and certain areas within the ROM zone are not within the township's wastewater management plan, quote, WMP, close quote, dated January 30th, 2012, and prepared by the State of New Jersey Highlands Water Protection and Planning Council in support of Lopatcong Township's approved petition for plan conformance and the Water Quality Management Planning Rules, NJAC 7:15, which requires that, quote, no further extensions of the future sewer service area will be approved in the Lopatcong Township wastewater management plan absent proof that sufficient capacity exists for such extensions after consideration of all planned and potential flows within the Highlands Center and approval of the Highlands Council of a map adjustment, extension of the Highlands Center or public health and safety waiver, period, close quote. 19, in the council's judgment, ordinance 2020-12 will help assure that local transportation routes will continue to promote the free flow of traffic. Limiting the development of warehouse and distribution centers that generate large volumes of truck traffic will mitigate congestion roads and promote their safe and efficient operation. 20, in the council's judgment, ordinance 20-12 will limit the further rapid development of warehouse and distribution centers within Lopatcong Township so as not to conflict with the development and general welfare of the neighboring municipalities through which increased volumes of truck traffic must pass to reach major highways and interstate transportation routes.
21, in the council's judgment, ordinance 20-12 will protect the quality of life of the established residential neighborhoods that adjoin the industrial zone lands in the township. The 24-hour, 7-day-a-week character of the warehouse and distribution center's operations and the increased truck traffic on county and local roads will significantly increase noise levels, reduce air quality, and increase ambient light levels in the adjoining residential neighborhoods. It is the council's judgment that the manifold permitted uses remaining in the affected zone districts provide appropriate development opportunities that are consistent with the intent of the ROM and PD districts. 22, in the council's judgment, ordinance 20-12 will promote a desirable visual environment by limiting further development of warehouse and distribution centers that are comprised of massive windowless buildings of great height, length, and width from dominating the field of view while allowing a mix of building types of varying sizes, differing heights, and facades to persist within the industrial zone areas. 23, in the council's judgment, ordinance 20-12 will help to protect and conserve the trout production waters of the Lopatcong Creek and dry run watersheds from the threat posed by the reduction in air quality caused by the stormwater runoff in the large expanses of buildings and paved surfaces associated with warehouse and distribution centers. Be it further resolved that these reasons shall be spread upon the council's minutes contemporaneous with the adoption of ordinance 20-12. That's it.
With that, I'll make the motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Councilman Belcarro?
Yes.
Councilman Polito?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Council President Pryor?
Yes.
Mayor Mengucci?
Yes. All right, number 3 is ordinance number 20-12, second reading and public hearing to amend and revise chapter 243 entitled zoning and land use to delete sections 243-75, A2 and 243-77.3. C1, C, remove warehouses and distribution centers and permitted uses in the RM and PD zones.
Make a motion.
We need a motion for a public hearing. You gonna make that motion?
Yep.
I'll second it. Folks, questions, comments on number 3?
Do we need to vote on that, Mayor?
Opening to the public?
Yeah.
You had a motion in a second?
Yeah.
Hearing.
All in favor?
You did that all there, yeah.
Pardon me?
All in favor?
Did you say all in favor?
I do not know.
No.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Arvin Ital on behalf.
Hold on, I'm sorry, sir.
We had a motion.
We have a motion in a second. We need an all in favor?
Yes.
All in favor.
Aye.
Right, Arvin Ital, AITHAL, I introduced myself earlier. I haven't changed my identification or my affiliation as an attorney representing the purchaser, contract purchaser of Block 99, Lot 6. Mayor, if I may colloquy both yourself and the council members as to when the resolution was drafted, by whom it was adopted.
I don't have the answer to that.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
I think he was asking when it was drafted and who wrote it.
It was input from myself, the planner, the professional engineer, and 2 attorneys, one from your office and our land use attorney.
Thank you. Mayor, still have objections regarding the notification, the notices that were sent out. I'd ask if with colloquy or ask your counsel, who's present here today, whether you use that opportunity to review the notices and the mailing list and verify that the mailing list accurately reflects the actual notices that went out and vice versa.
You want to engage in a colloquy with this gentleman, or we have, I know Katrina, you've been dealing with Katrina from my office. I talked to Katrina. Katrina has all the information. Has all the information and has engaged in discussion with the gentleman and the advice council. So,
okay. Well, I will say that I've had conversations with her, limited conversations, and I've had even fewer email conversations or correspondence with her, and none of them relate to the specific objections that I put on the record here today regarding the 200-foot lists and the lack of notice being provided to the owner of Lot 99, Lot 6.
didn't you send an email?
Sorry, Block 99, Lot 6.
Didn't you send an email today on those 2 subjects?
I did send her an email, got nothing except a response saying that they were going forward with the resolution tonight, or the adoption of the ordinance tonight.
Okay,
So colloquying as to whether that was actually reviewed. The
So-
200-foot list that was
I
provided.
understand what your question is. I understand your objections to the received notice defects, and also your objections to the ordinance being considered by the council tonight. I will tell you that your objections have been noted, that your arguments which you raised have been considered by council, and that we have a difference of opinion as to whether this council has jurisdiction to hear the ordinance tonight. So I don't want to belabor the point. I think we're going to agree to disagree on where we stand.
I think that I'm asking a different question than the answer that you're providing. The question that I'm asking is, has anyone reviewed the 200-foot list to verify that the list accurately reflects all of the notices that went out and vice versa? All of the notices that went out accurately reflect the correct addresses on the 200-foot list.
The notices that went out were notices that were provided by the township assessor, and were the notices and the addresses which were on file for the property owners, which were located within 200 feet and were noticed as required by law.
Right.
Yes.
So I'll ask again, because I don't think I got an answer to the question, which is, has anyone reviewed that?
Other than when it was sent out the first time, I'm not sure.
Right. I don't know whether anyone's reviewed it. All I have is an indication that there was a 200-foot list, and I understand how the 200-foot lists are put together. I'm asking whether anyone reviewed that list against the actual mail that went out for the notices.
I don't know.
And
I
vice
can't
versa.
answer that question.
And that's perfectly fine. I just wanted to make sure that I got that on the record as well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
I have one on the Zoom.
Okay.
Doug, you can go.
Thank you very much. I just want to reiterate my support for this ordinance and encourage the council to pass it. I understand and I've listened carefully to the objections as best I could given the audio, and I've listened very carefully to the concerns of the property owners, and I have great respect for property owners' rights, but they are not unlimited. They are fettered by public policy, and public policy changes with time as conditions necessitate. One of the most telling aspects of why this ordinance needs to be passed is the fact that the present definition of warehouse in the ordinance is inadequate given the realities of what warehouses are today. So the ordinance needs to be passed because the realities surrounding the nature of warehouses, the trip generations that they cause, the increased costs of infrastructure to the taxpayer, especially residential taxpayers, is so significant that this ordinance becomes compelling. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
No, not on here. Oops. Do you want to do that?
Motion
Oh,
to-
wait, I have one. Hold on.
Okay.
Gina. Gina Marie, you can go now.
Yeah, it's this whole thing is I agree with Mr. Doug. It's very hurtful that we weren't able to understand a lot of what happens. I don't know if you can hear me now or not.
Yeah.
I could be breaking up, I'm not sure. But I'm disabled. I have brain damage from an accident. So a lot of this is hard for me to understand. I have a further concern because of all the words that guy was speaking. He kept mentioning 200 feet. Last week, my brother moved me here. It was a little not so cool beans to listen to someone call me outsider. My brother born and raised here. He moved me back here when I had the accident and got all jacked up because he said it'd be safe, whatever. But get to the point. Last week in the Overlook, the 911 was called and the fire department came. We're under volunteer. My brother, who now lives in Franklin, came to help me before the fire people were here. So am I understanding correct when you say 200 feet is where this building's going from all these residents that live here now? The wind blows, what's going to happen? Am I understanding that right?
Everybody within 200 feet of the property line.
Doug says no.
That was, the 200 feet we were talking about were for notification requirements, and it's within 200 feet of the property.
So if the building, like, cause I'm just concerned now with the fire and stuff, cause I didn't realize in reality, like I knew it was volunteer and it takes longer, whatever, but it's just so taxing in real life when things happen. Like, are we, as a township, are we able with our budget and our resources to accommodate what we have now? Like someone mentioned before, solar panels, like that gives back. Yeah, it's not the prettiest thing to look at, but at least it will help the family. I mean, I don't want to hurt anybody, but at the same time, I don't know what to do. So I'll just shut up. But I'm very worried because since my brother moved me here, there's new warehouses, there's more trucks. That's how I got injured and disabled. So I'm freaking out. I'll shut up. Thank you for pay attention and listen to me. I appreciate you have this.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else, Mike?
No.
All right, folks. Need a motion to close the public
Motion
hearing?
to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to act on number 20-12?
I'll make the motion.
I will second it.
Roll call on that. Councilman Belcarro,
Yeah, before I vote, I just want to be known, go on record. I'm going into my 9th year as council. And I first signed on council because I wanted to help make a difference and help make the right decisions. We made some easy decisions. We made some very difficult decisions. And this is one of them. I have to not look for my own interest. I look for the whole picture, not for any individual per se. I'm looking at the whole picture as a township. That's why I base my decision. I weigh everything. I heard everyone's concerns and I understand them. I get it, from all aspects. Everyone has a viable argument for why this should pass and why it shouldn't pass. But I have to make that decision. I have to vote my conscience and I'll sleep well at night time. So my decision, I support this resolution. Yes.
Councilman Polito,
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Yes.
Council President Pryor.
Yes.
Mayor Mangucci.
Yes. Number 4 is number 20-13, second reading, public hearing to amend, revise, and supplement chapter 233 entitled Streets and Sidewalks, update the fee requirements for street opening permits in section 203-14. Need a motion to open to the public?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Folks, questions, comments? Anything on the Zoom? Lori?
No.
Seeing none, motion to close?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to act on number 4.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call on that. Councilman Belcarro.
Yes.
Councilman Polito,
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Yes.
Council President Pryor.
Yes.
Mayor Mangucci.
Yes. Number 5 is ordinance number 20-14, second reading, public hearing to amend, revise, and supplement chapter 227 entitled Vehicle and Traffic, section 38, control for the movement and the parking of traffic on public and private property, subsection B of the Code of the Township of Lopatcong to add section B 7 to regulate the movement and parking of traffic through Title 39 enforcement on a private roadway known as Rand Boulevard and providing access to Lot 1 in Block 101. Need a motion to open to the public?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Folks, questions, comments?
No.
Seeing and hearing none, motion to close?
Motion.
Motion to act, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to act on 20-14.
Motion.
Second.
Councilman Belcarro,
Yes.
Councilman Polito,
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Yes.
Council President Pryor.
Yes.
Mayor Mangucci.
Yes. Number 6 is ordinance number 20-15, second reading, public hearing, to amend chapter 199 of the Code of the Township of Lopatcong entitled Stormwater Management to reflect amendments to the New Jersey Stormwater Management Rules NJAC 7:8, adopted March 2nd, 2020. Motion open to public?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Folks, questions, comments? John?
Say that sewage produced, the storm water and flow increases. What Stormwater management reflect amendments to New Jersey stormwater management rules. What happens if it doesn't get corrected by what this ordinance reflects?
What happens? I would imagine DEP would get involved then.
Okay.
So.
Okay, that's it.
All right, yep. Anyone else? Motion to close?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to act on 20-15.
I'll make that motion.
Pryor, second.
Mhm.
Councilman Belcarra?
Yes.
Councilman Polito?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Council President Pryor?
Yes.
Mayor Menducci?
Yes. Under new business, we are pulling resolution number 20-157. Consent agenda. Items 1 through 7. Anybody have anything they'd like to pull? Seeing and hearing none, have a motion to act on the consent agenda?
Motion.
I'll second it.
Councilman Belcarra?
Yes.
Councilman Polito?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Council President Pryor?
Yes.
Mayor Menducci?
Yes. Council reports. Lou?
I have no council report, but I hope everyone had a nice Merry Christmas, and I wish everyone a Happy New Year. Hopefully 21, a little bit better than 2020, for most people.
Thank you. Jim?
Just like Lou, I'd like to wish everybody a happy, safe, healthy new year.
All right.
Same about the holidays. Can we get, who's in for the dogs? We haven't got a report on that, have we?
No.
Can we get him in here? The
Can I
next
get him in
executive?
here?
Huh?
Our zoning officer
Yeah.
meeting?
Yeah, we have a brand new one, Bill. I don't
Yeah.
know if he's up on it. The zoning
I just
officer.
want to get on this before spring gets here because
Okay.
I don't want.
Is he working? Did he report for work?
Oh, yeah, he works every Tuesday, so.
Maybe we could make sure he's up to date on that, so.
Yeah.
I spoke to the construction official already and asked him to take
All
a
right,
look
cool.
into that.
That's all I have.
I'll have him give you a report.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Right.
I'll just say, I hope Christmas for everybody next year is better than this one was. Hopefully we're out of this soon. I just have two things. After the snowstorm, I received a email of concern from a nice gentleman about sidewalks being shoveled. A lot of people are ignoring our ordinance. I read our ordinance. It's an old ordinance. I think there's a lot of problems with it. And there's things we can do to upgrade the ordinance. And maybe help with sidewalks getting shoveled. Some towns have programs where the elderly that meet certain criteria can sign up, and kids who are doing Eagle Scout projects or Honor Society projects can, volunteer. They do that for a season and they fulfill the requirement. Things like that. I'm not just saying we should think about it, but enforcing the existing ordinance, I think, would be a bit problematic. They assign it to the police chief. The police really have other things to do. We have to rethink that. Some of the timing requirements in there are a bit off. So maybe that's something we could look at, but in the interim, I suggested, Beth, if we could post a nice, we'll call it a reminder on the website and on Facebook, just bringing attention to the notice, and they should be shoveled, after a storm.
Sure.
The other thing with COVID, Bill, the commission has an agreement with somebody to do testing, correct? Your commission?
No.
No? No, they
No, we
don't
just go
refer to
to,
anybody?
no, just go to St. Luke's.
No?
Yeah.
I was wondering with what's going on, some of the issues we've had, if we can't maybe talk to St. Luke's, and I wonder if we can't get a doctor, our own designated doctor involved, that we could send people to and maybe get testing through them.
It's very expensive.
Some people have been having problems.
Yeah.
So I think they're right in town. We have a relationship with them. I know they can do the testing on strikers. If there's an arrangement we could put together and we could run that through here, somebody says they're exposed here, whatever, we run through our doctor, our testing.
That's a little more involved than that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm going through the same thing. I mean, I had no problem. My doctor, made an arrangement for me to have a test done. So
Yeah.
that was.
And we do have a relationship with St. Luke's already.
Do we?
Yes, we do.
And what is that, Beth?
We appoint them as our physicians every year. And I have a woman that I deal with through the occupational therapy unit on Strikers Road for a number of different things.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, what I'm getting at, can we get our referrals through them or what?
I don't know, you have to go through your own doctor, and that was pretty easy for me. I
Yeah.
called my
Typically,
doctor, they made the arrangements, you go out there, you sit in your car, you dial the number, you tell them that you're there, and you just drive around the back, and that's it. So it was pretty.
Well,
quick.
it's just a thought.
Yeah, it's not
Doesn't
bad.
work, it doesn't work. So. And that's about it. It's been the holidays, it's been slow.
Okay. I have nothing other than to wish everybody a happy new year. Hopefully 2021 will be better for all of us. I'd like to take a moment to thank all of our employees this year. And it has not been the easiest, but we remained open for the most part. Everybody stayed healthy for the most part. And so my thanks to them for working through a very, very difficult year. Beyond that, we will see you January 6th.
Yeah.
Is our reorg meeting, so.
We
We do have a couple more things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I unmuted Paul.
You unmuted?
Paul.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Paul's with us.
Mhm.
Paul, what do you got for us?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I only have one item. As a result of your action tonight on the consent agenda, we are now officially closed on the Baltimore Street Red School Lane project. So I'll be working with the CFO on a closeout of that project with the Department of Transportation so that we can obtain the remaining reimbursement under the grant that we have with the department at this point. I also wanted to note that the Safe Routes to School project plans were submitted on the 21st of December to the Department of Transportation as well. So that's all I have tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Is Jason on?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't see Jason on here. No. Mm-mm.
All right, motion to approve department reports.
Motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
In favor?
Aye.
Payment of bills. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Belcarro,
Yes.
Councilman Polito.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Yes.
Council President Pryor.
Yes.
Mayor Menounos.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Eugene Lepcha. I have the problem with the right-of-way access, 608 Avenue A.
Yes.
With Jack Bud.
Yes.
I'm just wondering how far along the council or the township engineer has gotten.
Is Paul still on there?
with giving them right-of-way.
Yeah, Paul's on here. Hold on. Okay, go ahead.
Paul, Avenue A, the sale of those couple houses there. Do we have any update on that?
I did talk to Mr. Budd last week prior to the holiday, and he put forth, I guess, what he thought would be a resolution of that issue. His resolution is different than mine. I believe that we should talk to him and seek an easement from him for all the pavement that's on his property at this point, leading up to his curb for his parking lot. So we've traded ideas. I don't think we're in agreement with it. That's what I think really should be done. He's not using that area right now. It's part of the alley.
We need to sit down and talk to him as a council?
I think we should. That's the only way this is going to get resolved, if we sit down with him.
Easement for where his curb line stops, correct?
Excuse me?
Basically for him to grant us an easement from where his curb line stops?
Correct. Yeah, perhaps, Mayor, since I'm coming into Town Hall next Wednesday for our 2021 capital projects discussion, maybe we can have Mr. Budd join us as well for 15 minutes to talk about this particular issue to try to resolve it.
That's fine.
Okay,
All right, that's what we'll do.
I'll have him stop by.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and just currently, there's no trespassing signs on my
Yes.
driveway. Okay, I have a buyer for my house. They're very nice and they really want to buy the house. They agreed to rent to own in the meantime.
Right,
Mr. Bud gave us access to move in
right,
for one day.
right,
Trespassing signs are back up.
okay,
I am entitled by New Jersey state law to have right-of-way access to drive up the driveway to get to my house
right.
at all times. Can the council or Mr. Mayor write a letter to Mr. Budd to request him to remove the trespassing signs and allow access until this is settled?
You can't do that, right?
No. No,
Can't do that.
no,
Right?
no, cannot.
Right.
The township won't get, that's unfortunately, it's a civil matter between you and
Yeah, it's
Mr. Bud,
just
sir.
that, it's been open for 30 years. That's as long as I own the property.
Yeah.
Why does it have to stop now? I should have access to it until this is settled. By rights, I should have access.
I don't know the circumstances of your case, but if you have a dispute with, it sounds like a neighbor,
Yeah.
then your best course of action would be to either go through the courts yourself or hire representation for counsel
Okay.
representing in that matter.
I'm working on that. Yes, I was hoping
We all
Township
are.
had something for us.
But next week he's gonna,
Well, we'll sit down next
so
week.
maybe get it squared away by
Yeah.
next Wednesday.
Okay, let me know. All right, thank you.
Is he have a buyer for his property that you know of?
What's that? I'm
Is he have a
sorry.
buyer for his property that you know
For Mr. Bud?
Yeah.
No, he's planning on putting it on the market soon. My neighbor in front of me, Rich Johnson.
Yeah.
His house is under contract to be for sale.
of? I saw that.
January 6th. So we're both
In
under the
limbo.
gun. And I would like to sell this year,
Really?
but
Okay.
unfortunately.
That's understandable.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, John.
Yes, it's just a short little thing, and it really doesn't have a place for today's meeting, but I just, coming on to the new year, we need a rent leveling board, Jim.
We need a lot of our board members.
I know that,
A lot.
and we need some kind of more effective way of gaining that, if at all possible, sir.
All right, well, like I said before, if you can come up with any volunteers, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's what all these boards are.
Yes, I
That's
do
becoming
know
more and more difficult at every level.
I know that.
So,
I know that. I posted some, the job openings and things like that
Yeah.
over at our complex.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. It's a rough evening. Thank you.
listen, that's what you sign up for.
There you go. Thank you, sir. Thank you, council.
Ms. Chesney.
That was a good opening for mine, Lori Chesla, 12 Meadowview Drive. I find it kind of ironic that my last official LOPAT meeting as a member of your official community is almost as long as my first one. But I want to thank you for what you did today. It takes a lot of courage. I know you're probably gonna get to, but anyways, I'm here in 2013 when I first came on council. It was the 150th anniversary of our township. Things were a little rough back then. We weren't sure we were going to do anything. We decided to pull out at the last minute a whole weekend of a celebration for the 150th anniversary. From that, because of the generous donations, we were able to catapult into the next year and get a nice community day going off. At that point in time, we decided to restart the recreation committee. It's been very enjoyable and it has grown quite a lot. We've gone from community day to the Veterans Rally Point Pavilion with the dedication of that, to taking over movies at the pool that used to be done by other volunteers, helping out with the Memorial Day celebrations up there with Mr. Nixon. And as you know, the music in the park, which is probably one of our biggest things. We took over the Easter egg hunt. We were going to try to do a Christmas tree lighting, but we couldn't actually have anybody there, but the tree is up. Unfortunately, or fortunately for me, I did win my election, so I can no longer be your recreation chairperson, so I have to resign this evening. I know I've spoken to a few of you about what I think you could do in the future. I think it's going to grow rather than shrink because I think there is a lot of opportunity. I do have to say this year in particular with COVID, the movies at the pool, movies at the park, where we moved it up there, and music at the park was a great relief to everybody in this community. It got them outside, it got them doing something besides sitting and looking at their four walls. And I think it'll grow even more because people across the community and the county have come to realize what we have here and how special it is and how you do have the opportunity to do things outside. As you know, like the real estate market's going through the roof because of that. So I do think there's a lot of growth. And like I said, I know I spoke to some of you about what I think you should be doing next year. Hopefully that'll happen. I'll help transition into whoever is taking it over. I have to finish up the report for the grant for Music in the Park. I did submit the grant for next year's Music in the Park, so that's ready to go. Hopefully you'll get that. The movies I usually order around March. We do need to get maybe a different screen, like a blow-up screen, because I think it worked out at the park because you don't have to keep the pool open now. And hopefully you'll be able to get a community day out this year. Hopefully things will be much better in August of 2021. We can do some kind of community day music fest. And I still live here, so if you need me, you can find me.
Community entertainment has become more of a bigger need than ever.
I agree.
And it's grown, so, and it's a nice thing, especially the music in the park.
Right.
And of course, the movies for the kids, you can't cut them out either. We have a lot of serious decisions to make. You know, again, as I said before, I try and listen. And what I hear a lot of people saying is, you know, the people that are putting in pools for themselves are out till 2022. Some people have been promised, you know, that they won't get it till then. So every time I hear something like that, obviously a community pool is something that's gone by the wayside. And our community pool has really become nothing more than a public service at this point. It does not make money. It has not made money. It's going to be a question of this council as to how much money we want to put into that pool. It obviously has another leak in it. So, and it is 50, it was opened up in 67. So, you know, there comes a time that, as with everything else, as was discussed here tonight, it may be time to look other ways. I don't know. There's a lot of hard decisions going with budget time. So far, we've managed to keep everybody employed. You know, looking at the barometer for our tax collectors, where our rate is. Because for me, it's a barometer on what kind of money we're bringing in and how people are hurting or not hurting. And so, but with these 4 gentlemen that I have up here this year coming forward, I think we'll do just fine. We've done fine. We've done a lot of good things up here with we kept the flat rate last year, lose insistence. Joe got us a reduction in our on our sewer rate. People don't even see those kind of things, but you know, one of the things that kind of annoyed me tonight was that we kept hearing about 2 years. We haven't known about this for 2 years.
No, not at all.
So, you know, it is what it is. We've made the decisions we've made. We'll let chips fall where they may, and that's it. So.
I just wanted to thank you also, because I know when I've called, you guys have come, whether at the movies or at the music, you sat with me, you've helped me out. And like, I think, you know, it's nice to be appreciated.
It was very nice to see you get elected at the county level because you suffered up here on council because of a couple people. So unfortunately, you know, sometimes you get caught up as a bad face of the council, not you individually. I think you and Maureen did one hell of a job, but you know, it was a bad time, but we've come through it. The people have seen fit to put the old guy back in charge again, I guess. So I'll be here another 3 years, Lord willing, and we're gonna do our best.
I hate to tell you this, but I have an idea that I'm gonna share a building soon. So it's not that bad, it's not a tank, but hey, if you can get a tank, I think that's an awesome thing. But it has to do with, I know there's a lot of talk about like honoring the veterans there. And one of the things you can do now, it's something we're gonna try to do at the county level, where in different places, you can put those little QR codes at different areas and you can just scan them. So one of the thoughts I had is that if you just put little resting spots throughout your park, and you could have a QR code and you could do a little biography of maybe somebody who was either killed in action or missing in action from the township. It's kind of something they did down at the World War II memorial in New Orleans. And like I said, it's where a lot of people are doing this, like on walking paths, you just scan and you get some information, and maybe that's a way to honor our fallen veterans in this town.
All right.
But thank you and have a very happy New Year.
Thank you, Laurie.
Anyone else, questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Folks, thanks for coming out.